All right, everybody. I know it's a couple minutes early, but in the sake of timeliness, since it is a weekday, we figure we might as well get started a little bit earlier for you all. My name is Ryan McCune. I'm the head of marketing and outreach here at Renovus Solar, and I'm very excited to be able to sit down with you guys for a quick little half an hour here to do a special presentation of our Buyer's Guide to Solar, which is an immensely popular piece of content that we were able to create for people to help them understand the process of researching and going solar, because it is an extremely complicated marketplace sometimes. And we value at Renovus making the process simple and easy for anybody who is interested. So just a couple little quick housekeeping items here. As I mentioned, my name is Ryan. I'm the head of marketing here. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me via email. My email address will be in the closing slide. And you also may have gotten a reminder from me previous to this broadcast. So feel free to ask any questions there if you would like. If you have any specific questions that pop up throughout the presentation, feel free to submit them in the Q&A area. Those are completely anonymous and no one will see them other than me. So feel free to ask whatever you'd like. And if it's appropriate and prudent to what we're talking about, I'll address it at the end of the presentation. Any questions that for whatever reason I don't have an exact answer to, I will forward your inquiries on to our reps here at Renovus, and they'll get back to you by the end of the day with an answer to your question. So without any further ado, let's launch into our Buyer's Guide special presentation today. So the solar industry has changed quite a bit in the past couple of years, and it's changed for the better, despite some press that you may have heard around things like tariffs. The industry has really come of age in the past couple of years, and we've been really proud to be on the ground building solar systems for residential and commercial clients for more than 10 years. But the prices have never been lower, and it's never been easier to do. And that's a big reason why we wanted to be able to create this presentation and this piece of content for everybody, so we could really help communicate exactly what opportunities are out there and how you can seize them. So why is it that the solar industry has changed so much, and what makes it accessible now? Well, as I mentioned, systems are cheaper and more reliable than any time in the history of solar. Solar costs, when this technology was first invented quite a few years ago, the cost per watt was sometimes as high as $80. And those costs have fallen precipitously over the years. The average panel efficiency has also increased during that time, and now everything that we offer has a guaranteed 25-year lifespan. Those panels will produce power for your home or your business for 25 years, and Renovus stands behind that. And if for whatever reason those panels do not produce the power that they're supposed to during that time period, we'll replace them. We don't see solar going anywhere. The industry is growing at an extremely rapid rate, and we see opportunity everywhere for residential and commercial clients to erase their utility bills and use the solar industry to benefit their bottom line. And that's happening all over the country. New York is certainly, despite the cloudy days that we sometimes see, it is actually probably one of the hottest solar markets in the United States. And that's very much so because our representatives here in New York have decided that solar is important. It's a great way to update and back up the grid, and it's great for the citizens here. So there are incentive packages available to New York State residents that aren't available to anyone else in the country. And we help our clients navigate that sometimes murky waters to make sure they get as much back as possible and have the most affordable system they can. So there's a couple things we're going to cover today. It's a big document if you've seen the Buyer's Guide before, and we're hoping we can offer you some insights that you haven't seen before, but we're going to go through all of these items here. We're going to cover the benefits of solar systems. We're going to cover the classic question of, is this right for me? We're going to cover researching solar options and choosing a partner to execute your plans. Lastly, planning and constructing your build. And of course, the thing which most people arrive at solar looking to do, which is saving a bunch of money. And that's what we do for our customers. So when we look at solar, we see that it is a smart energy solution for pretty much anybody. Its greatest benefit is that it saves you money. So the stigma that solar is really expensive upfront and that it can't, that ultimately it's only for a select few has really been completely debunked in the past few years. As system costs have fallen, the financing industry has really woken up. And there are now packages available to people that help make solar more affordable than paying your existing utility bill immediately. This energy is sustainable. It's yours. You own it. It's on your roof. It's out in your lawn, or maybe at one of our solar farms, and it's getting pumped into the grid directly from these solar panels. It's clean, renewable energy that'll be there for 25 years, guaranteed. Most systems offset, more than a ton of CO2 being produced and pumped into the atmosphere. And we all know that, that matters nowadays as the environment is changing. So if you look at all of these things, solar is really a smart investment. It's a smart investment, not only for your pocketbook, but for your family and for the environment. But the big question most people have is, will I save money with solar? And the answer is yes. The short answer is yes. If you spend more than $100 a month, it's extremely likely that you are going to save money with solar. And the reason for that being, Renovus has worked really hard to create financing relationships with credit unions and banks in New York State and around the country that have extremely favorable terms. And we can size a system that will offset your utility bill and save you money immediately. And our team is well versed at coming up with that and getting something for you that'll work. So most of our customers save up to 100% on their electricity bills, but some opt for smaller systems that offset, anywhere from 70 to 100% of their energy costs. But because it's so affordable, most people opt for, the be-all take-all option of covering everything. So depending on the size of your installation, you can offset 100% of your electric costs and erase that line from your utility bill completely. So the big question for most people, though, is my home ready for solar? And for most, they immediately think of rooftop solar. It's not the only option for people, but it's certainly the most visible and most familiar option for most. Most of the population, unfortunately, can actually not cash in on rooftop solar. And there's a myriad of reasons for that. The biggest being that they don't have a viable roof, or maybe they don't own their building and they're not ready to put an investment up there on the roof that might be passed down to another tenant later on. A reputable solar company will take a look at your roof and make sure that that's a viable option or not a viable option. And a company like Renovus will provide you alternatives if it's not. There is not a single person in New York State who can't go solar with Renovus one way or another. And the reason being that we have more options and more ways to go solar than anybody else in the state. And we're quite creative about that. So the next thing to consider when looking at your home is your equity. And solar systems, when installed right, do nothing but add to the value of your home. And the reason is, actually, there are a few reasons for it. First, you get to start saving on your electric expenditures immediately, which means potentially you have more money to reinvest into projects like redoing a kitchen or painting a house or other things that can help build your home's equity immediately. But also the system itself does add to the equity of your property. So recent studies show that as a national average, you get about $3 per watt when you have a system on your home, when you go to sell that home. So for most people, that's around $15,000 increase on the total value of their home when they decide to sell it. Most people don't want to part with their solar systems and will usually take that money, turn around and put it back on whatever new home they're purchasing. But that's a significant amount of money, and it's an investment that pays you every single year in decreased costs, but will also pay you if you decide to leave. Last thing to consider when looking at your home is your sun exposure. This is the most direct contributor to whether or not a solar system is going to be viable on your roof. And not all solar array positions will have equal outputs. So one thing that we pride ourselves here at Renovus is that we will take a holistic look at your roof and cover all the possible options. Our team has done hundreds of these systems each, and they've seen everything. So we will look at your home remotely. We'll have somebody come measure the actual sun exposure when you've actually signed a contract. But we'll be able to size a system for you well in advance of you actually signing any contract. So you'll know exactly how many panels we're putting on that roof, where they're going, how much they're going to output, and how much money they're going to be saving you. So it's important you explore all of those options, because if those numbers don't line up, then sometimes roof-based installation is not actually your best choice. So that's where we get to cover the types of solar systems that we offer here at Renovus. This is an extremely important thing to look at. And the reason for that being that not all companies have the capability of installing all types of solar. There are really three ways to look at solar in central New York and the Finger Lakes, and some people are familiar with and some they're not. On the left, we have ground-mounted solar. That means that we're going to put panels on the ground on your property. If you have a field next to your house or a small amount of space, that is a great option for people who have a higher energy demand and maybe the panels wouldn't fit on the roof or they're not perfectly viable there. Next, we have the familiar roof-mounted option, which is a great solution for tons of people. And next, we have the community solar option. And community solar is the newest way to go solar in New York State. It's a solar model that was actually brought to the market by Renovus in 2015. And the gist of it is community solar is power that's produced offsite. You don't have anything on your roof or on your property, but it credits your bill just exactly the same way. So first, roof-mounted systems, they're usually very attractive to people. Systems now are low profile, they're lightweight, they're high efficiency, and we have a very strong install team that will install things on your roof and guarantees that workmanship. So if anything goes wrong, we're gonna cover it. That includes leaks, any issues with the panels, which seldom happen, but we will make sure we cover those things. Roof-mounted systems are very attractive, but as I mentioned earlier, they're only the best option for about 20% of potential solar customers. And for those who can utilize them, they're a fantastic option, but many people can't. So that's when we get to ground-mounted systems. The reason somebody might opt for a ground-mounted system versus a roof-mounted system could be A, maybe their home is a bit shady. B, maybe their roof just isn't quite big enough to account for a system that would offset all of their energy bills. And C, sometimes people just don't want something on their roof. And frankly, we're more than happy to accommodate folks and get those panels on the ground. The big benefit of this, as I mentioned, is that they're not constrained by roof size. So these ground-mounted systems can be as large as you need or as small as you need to offset your energy costs. And as I mentioned, there is the one last candidate for going solar for any home here in central New York or the southern tier. You have community solar. Community solar systems are large solar farms built within your utility zone. So if you're a National Grid or a NYSEG customer in what's called Zone C, you can be serviced by these farms, although we're building them all across the state and we will be rolling this out to many more communities in the coming years. That essentially is anything, straight down from Syracuse all the way down to Binghamton and that whole central chunk of New York State. These farms are large, usually over a megawatt of power. And what happens is individual folks buy panels on those farms. Those panels will generate electricity and that electricity will be deposited as credits directly onto your utility bill. So again, it has the same benefit as a ground-mounted system at your home. It can be as large as you need it to be. And it also has the added benefit of not being on your roof. So if you have a roof that's not well suited or you're planning on redoing your roof in a couple of years, you can use a community solar option. And the last thing, which is great about community solar, is that it can move with you. So say you find your dream house on a lake here in the Finger Lakes and you decide that you want to pick up and you want to go, you can move those solar credits to your new home. You don't have to worry about transferring them in any other way other than calling the utility company, calling Renovus, and we'll happily walk you through the process. So the next big question when looking at solar, so say you've decided on your roof-mounted system, you know that you have enough space up there to put a couple kilowatts up and offset your electric bill. The next question is choosing a solar provider. And really, our perception of choosing a provider is we want to make sure that whether it's us or somebody else, that when somebody's researching solar, they have all the right information that they need. And the reason being that sometimes solar can be a bit confusing. There's a lot of different options. There's tons of different types of panels from all different countries, components and monitoring systems. And most folks are not inherently familiar with those things the same way they might be with a more standard home renovation or purchase. So it's our job to educate people. And that's why we do things like this buyer's guide here today. Our job is to help you navigate the confusing world of planning and financing and then installing your solar system. And we happily do so. We have a team member who will be with you if you decide to use Renovus from day one until the system is complete. We have a sizable staff here in Ithaca, New York of more than 70 engineers, installers, customer service reps, all of which are in lockstep to make sure that your system is built and done the right way. But that is Renovus's approach to things. And it's possible that you use a different company for your solar install. But you should still look at all of these factors when researching a company. So always look at references. Obviously, the solar installation has expanded quite a bit in the past couple of years, and that has brought a lot of unknown entities into the marketplace. Not everybody has 10 plus years of experience doing this like Renovis does. And it's really important to find references, because you don't want somebody climbing up on your roof, installing that 7 kilowatt system and punching a whole bunch of holes in your roof, and then you can't reach them when water starts getting in. So talk to people, look on Google, look on Facebook, on other directory sites. Often, if you want to, you can call up a company and say, hey, do you have anybody who's willing to give you a reference? I know at Renovis, we have folks do that, and we're happy to oblige. The next thing is guarantees matter. Installation guarantees, product guarantees, workmanship guarantees, all of those things matter, because if somebody's not willing to guarantee their work, how can you be confident that it's going to be good enough for your home? And last is maintenance and reporting, and this is in lockstep with guarantees. If somebody's willing to guarantee their work, they should also be willing to maintain anything that may happen. The beauty of a solar system is that they are extremely low maintenance. You do not need to go change air filters or replace bulbs. The solar system just works for you. And because there's not moving parts, there's very seldom an issue that comes up. With a company like Renovis, we can look at your systems remotely, and we can help you with that maintenance remotely if it doesn't require somebody to be on site. If it does require somebody to be on site, we have a team of people who can get out there, get your system powered back on, and make sure you're producing at peak efficiency. Not everybody has a local crew. Sometimes these are outsourced contractors. So it's important to look at those dynamics when you're researching who you want to use. Next is looking at the financial part. Obviously, a system, depending on the components you use, can vary widely, but it's good to have a coach who can help you with all of these different aspects of looking at a system. Most reputable companies in New York State and around the country have financing partnerships that help make solar accessible. That's certainly true here at Renovis. We work with a couple local credit unions and national banks that make solar affordable and make it so that your monthly payments will be less than your utility bill was previously immediately. Some of those loan products are zero down products. Some of them you can put payments down to decrease that monthly bill even more, but we'll help you navigate that, and we'll make sure that you are not caught in a scenario where you're financing something and you're maybe not getting the best terms, because it's in everyone's best interest for you to have the lowest payments possible on this system. Next is rebates and subsidies, and this is a very confusing area. We actually, if you want to learn more about rebates and subsidies over and above this, I would really recommend you head over to our website and check out a document we just released on federal and New York State tax subsidies. This is a powerful tool, and it can be sometimes very confusing for people. Solar subsidies let you deduct as much as 60% of a system's costs and actually get that back in a tax return. So that's extremely powerful, and it can offset a huge amount of your costs, but you need to understand how to file those and do those correctly. Our team at Renovis will help you do that if you end up working with us. And the last thing to look at is equipment. So equipment obviously matters. If you buy the cheapest panels possible, you might not get the best possible deal. But what's great about larger companies is that we're able to pre-purchase, get lower rates, and make sure that you get the highest quality components for the lowest possible cost. So talk to whoever you're looking to work with about what type of panels or inverters they might be using, what monitoring systems are available, so you can actually look at the production of your solar system in real time. All of those things matter, because with a 25-year guarantee, you're going to be hanging out with this thing and making money off of it for a long time, and you want those pieces of equipment to be extremely reliable. So the building and planning process, I would say that some customers want us to just carry this stuff out. Some people want to be very involved with the whole process. And what's great about having an on-site engineering team with collectively decades of experience is that they're willing to help people out in whatever way they need. So we start with a site visit. Most companies do. If they don't come out with a site visit, it's kind of a red flag. Every site is different, and Google Maps only gets you so far when you're looking at a roof or a ground-mounted system to build. So we'll have somebody actually go out, take a look at your property, make sure everything checks out, and that the system we designed for you is ideally suited for that space. Once we're all ready to go and we've scheduled an installation date, it's important to reach out to local authorities and make sure that they know some type of project is going on. Ryan Elliott here, he's our residential coordinator, residential install coordinator, and that's his job, is to make sure that people, the right people know about what's happening and when it's going to happen, so that your system doesn't hit any snags with local authorities. And the last thing is looking at your utility company and making sure that they're brought into the loop, because Renovus does not install off-grid systems. And we do that for a lot of different reasons. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out. But the gist of it is, it's better off for a consumer to always have a backup plan. And a utility company is obviously the way most people get their power. We would prefer for you to not have to pay them any bills anymore, while also still have the peace of mind of being connected to that utility. But as a result of that, you need to make sure that utility knows that you're getting solar panels, and we will help you navigate that process and reach out to them in some cases to make sure that the utility company has been told what's happening with size system and how it's being connected. So last is the installation process. Depending on the site, this can vary quite widely, but we're going to cover just kind of a general look here. And the first step, like I mentioned, is the site visit, because understanding the site is extremely important, not only for planning the build and making sure we know where everything's going, but also talking to homeowners about, okay, if there's going to be staging, et cetera, where can we put things? How, what should we avoid? How do we make sure we're not digging up areas or causing damage where people, don't want us to be? Most roof systems, our team can just get panels up there, very low impact. It's a little different with ground mounted systems, as we have to put posts into the ground, but it's important to talk to people about what the specific needs they have for their site and make sure that we're accommodating them. The next after that is we'll give you final drawings to make sure that you see the full system plan, and that's usually a pretty exciting time, because right after that we can set the installation date. We have a 90-day installation guarantee for any systems that have a down payment on them, and we stick by that. So 90 days from when your contract is signed, we will have panels on your roof or on your property, and those panels will start producing power. They'll be credited to your electric bill 30 days from the day that we turn that system on. So construction begins, like I said, within 90 days of when you start your contract, and it had always very little impact. We believe that that it's important for a system to fit seamlessly onto your home or into your land, and that we're not going to come in there and leave a big mess. And certainly we've heard horror stories of that happening with other companies, but not with our teams. They're very thoughtful. Next, we'll install the system, verify with your utility company, and let them know that your personal energy grid is all set up. Now you'll be essentially, it's a fun thing to see videos of customers. Once their system is up and running, they're able to go to their meter and actually see that thing running backwards, which means money in your pocket, solar credits being applied to your bill, and your monthly payments rolling back, which is always a fun time. So when you build that first system, you're going to see savings usually in excess of 15 to 20% immediately with financing products available. And you're going to start being able to use that money for other fun things. So that's the big point of going solar, right? Obviously, there's a lot of really strong feel-good reasons why somebody might want to invest in renewable energy. It's great for the environment. It's a reliable power source for you and your family. But ultimately, the goal of most folks is to save money on their utility bills and start saving that money immediately. So as soon as that happens, as soon as you have panels either on one of our solar farms or on your roof or on a ground-mounted system, you're now in control of your energy expenses. If you get a rate hike like National Grid and NYSEG decided to pass on to customers over the course of this winter, it's not going to affect you like it'll affect your neighbors, because you own your own grid. And when you own your own power plant, you have a lot more flexibility. So you can go off, take a vacation, you can go buy an electric car, start saving on gas. If that system needs to be scaled up to meet an increased need, if you install electric heat, for example, we can always help you that. And those savings compound, and over the life of a system, most people are saving, north of $20,000, all things said and done. Some of that, 10 grand plus can be immediately with tax incentives. We love it when our customers brag, so you can ignore that last part there. We actually have a referral program here at Renovus. If you let anybody know about your solar system and refer them, and they decide to buy a system with us, we will write you a check for $500 cash, and we'll give them $500 off their system. So a nice little $1,000 incentive there for you and your friends. That could be a nice dinner out out on the town if you guys want to spend some of those solar savings. So as I mentioned, I'm happy to answer some questions if anybody has them. My email and phone number are here on the right. That's 277-1777 to ring our Ithaca office, or you can just get me via email at rmccune@renovasolar.com. Feel free to reach out if you have any specific questions. We have such a knowledgeable team here that if I don't have the answer for you immediately, I will pass you off to somebody who does, and I'd be happy to do so. So now is the point. If you have any questions, feel free to blop them in the Q&A box. It looks like we have a knowledgeable crew, not any questions yet, but we're happy to answer them. We'll stick around here for another couple minutes. Just so you know, I will take a recorded version of this presentation and send it out to both the folks who attended and the folks who were unable to attend today for whatever conflict scheduling reasons. So I know a couple dozen of you, obviously, I've been taking notes and might have some questions, but to the rest of the folks who registered and didn't make it, there will be a recording available. If for whatever reason you don't get an email with that link in that file, feel free to reach out and I will happily help. So it's been a real pleasure presenting this buyer's guide to solar to you all. I hope that we get to cross paths here in the next couple of sunny months as the sun is blessing us and giving us a whole bunch of free power on our roofs. If you have any questions, reach out or submit them here. We'll stick around for another couple of minutes, and we hope that you have a really awesome Tuesday. Cheers.